Hi, everyone. Thanks for coming. I'm Troy Anderson, and I'm the founder and the leader now of Speak Up, and I'm so glad you're here. Some of what we're doing here is a culmination of many, many years of dreaming that I've had and planning for the last couple years. And I'm hoping that you will join me and my team of volunteers and one day employees all over the world to build an organization that will transform the world on behalf of the poor. And I hope that that's why you're here, because what I hope to do through Speak Up, even though we're small right now and relatively unknown, is build an organization that will have a global reach to be able to speak up and provide legal intervention and advocacy for the poor who are being exploited in many places around the world. So I'm going to explain to you some of the vision that we have for Speak Up, tell you a little bit about myself, and I hope that you will want to support the work that we're doing in some ways that I'll make clear. But I think it's long past time that good people who are generous and compassionate, who have some skills and have some resources, will combine those things together to make sure that the poor in the world are not exploited just because they're poor. And Speak Up is not a relief organization. We're not a religious organization. We're not predominantly going to just provide direct relief to people who are poor. But in circumstances where because people are poor, they are exploited or abused in some way, that's where our vision is to intervene on behalf of those people, to ensure that they're not taken advantage of or exploited merely because they're vulnerable. Because in the world today, there's incredible exploitation. We live in a country that, even though we're in some tough times now, that things are pretty wealthy and well off, but even in our own country, there are a lot of poor people that are exploited in some incredible ways. And I'm not talking politics. There are people from all across the spectrum that might see things differently, but I think we can all agree that it's wrong when people, just because they're vulnerable, are trafficked into slavery or forced into some kind of labor, or especially when children are overtly exploited or forced to work in some way. And those are the kind of things I'm talking about that people across the spectrum can agree on. And I hope that in some of the things I'm going to tell you and some of the stories that I've had, that you will get inspired to want to engage with some of those things, whether you support Speak Up, which I hope you would do, or support other groups that might be doing similar work. But around the world today, there's some incredible, incredible abuse that's going on. And I'm not saying these things just to be depressing or to just be too emotional, but I think it's really helpful for people to know what really is happening this very second around the world, so that you can be engaged with those things and maybe contribute to financially or give your gifts to organizations or people that are trying to do something about it. You might not know that at this very moment in the world, there are more slaves than at any time in the history of the world. It's an unbelievable, incredible statistic. And this is a well-verified number. People say there's probably around 25 million people today, 2009, who are in slavery. I'm not talking about mental slavery or who are just in poverty, but people that are in physical, literal slavery. The kind of people like men in Brazil who are forced to work in the sugarcane fields that are slaves to their masters. Talking about the men and women in Sierra Leone that are forced as slaves to work in the gold mines and the diamond mines. Talking about the women from Uzbekistan and Tajikistan who are trafficked to countries around the world where they're forced to be sex slaves. This is real modern slavery. It's not just a concept. It looks different than slavery might have looked like hundreds of years ago in our country. But this is the type of thing that's happening in our world this very second. And I'm not sure what time it is in different countries, but you can be assured that right now, this very moment around the world, there are women who are being raped because they've been sex slaves. And this very moment, there's men who are being forced to work against their will because they're in some kind of bondage or servitude to their master. That's what's happening in the world at this very moment. And at Speak Up, we hope to do something about it, which I'll explain in a few minutes. Another of the real profound issues that we at Speak Up hope to do something about is the issue of land rights. Now, I know here in California, we face issues with the home prices going up and down, or people like me who rent, we maybe have a hard time even getting our first house. But there's places around the world today where millions and millions of poor people are illegally thrown off of their land merely because they're poor. These are like the kind of people in the slums of India who, when someone wealthy wants the land, even though those people have a rightful ownership of it, they cause a fire or buy off the police to drive them off their land. Or women in Uganda and Kenya and other parts of East Africa who, when their husband dies, the family comes in and kicks the woman off of her land, which should be hers and from her inheritance through her husband, and causes her to be a landless widow. Or the people like the Sea Gypsies, who are one of Speak Up's clients in Thailand, who have this nice beachfront property, but they live in a slum because the police force them, or they won't give them permits to expand. They won't let them have water or electricity to develop their slum because the wealthy landowners and the corrupt politicians want to take that land from them and develop it into another hotel. This is the kind of thing that's happening around the world today. And there's other things. I could go on, but there's tons of issues like that where with the right kind of intervention, not just relief or giving money to the poor, but going in and changing the legal system, changing the justice system, providing direct legal advocacy for the poor, we can do something about that. Another issue that Speak Up we hope to do something about one day is the issue of illegal detention. Now the statistics are hard to exactly verify on this, but it could be safe to say that around the world today in the developing countries, nearly half of the men who are in jail or in prison in developing countries have no access to a lawyer and are themselves factually innocent of any crime. We're not talking about people, and I used to work here as a DA, and so I know people always saying to me, oh, I'm innocent, or through their lawyer. I'm talking about people that verifiably, factually innocent, but because the wealthy person wants to take their land or steal their cows or steal their land, or wants to use the corrupt policeman has something against them, and people are thrown in jail. And this is an epidemic that's particularly strong in countries like Haiti and Dominican Republic, even in Central and South America, where at this very moment, probably hundreds and hundreds of thousands, predominantly of men, are in jail just because someone rich and powerful wanted their land, or wanted their wife, or wanted their car. And these are the kind of things that we at Speak Up intend to do something about. Because not just providing money for someone or not just providing a job, what we hope to do at Speak Up is to build an international legal organization that can provide lawyers and advocates that will intervene in those situations. Because the incredible thing, beyond the other incredible things that I mentioned, is that in most countries where these things are happening, where Nigerian girls are trafficked to Italy and Greece to be prostitutes, where Thai women are sent all over the world and they're raped in the forest brothels of Singapore, across Indonesia where hundreds of thousands of young girls are vulnerable to being trafficked, in all of these countries, those things are illegal. There is a law in place in almost every country on earth saying human trafficking, taking someone against their will to another location to exploit them in some way, is illegal. Modern slavery is illegal in virtually every country, maybe with one or two minor exceptions. In most of those countries in Africa, these illegal land grabs are illegal. But the problem is there's no political will, or there's no money, or there's a broken justice system, so that justice isn't done for these people that are exploited. And what we hope to do at Speak Up, starting with our small fundraising administrative headquarters here, soon with our office that I'm going to start up in Bangkok this fall, is to build an international organization so that one day, perhaps in any country you could go to, if someone were to approach me or my team, I could say, I have a lawyer or I have an advocate that's their job to speak up for someone like that. And the name of our organization, the full name, Speak Up for the Poor, is pretty clear. I refer to it as Speak Up, but the very thing we want to do is build an international group that will speak up into situations of injustice and not just make a fuss about it, not just make reports about it, not just complain about it, but have the power and the resources to actually do something about it. And that's why I went to law school.